Me. Dear players, we have another round of questions and answers for you with War Thunder's producer, Vyacheslav Bulnikov. Yes, hello everybody, it's me, Screezilla, and I hope you are all well. And we have got the dev questions out. Now, I haven't made a video recently about War Thunder, as you probably noticed. I'm mildly angry. Probably by the tone of my voice you'll notice this as well. So, the first question. Currently, the community has an active discussion regarding the mouse. Many players are upset that this tank will disappear from the regular tech tree. A lot of questions about the possibility of obtaining it after the release of 1.91, because the information which we published in the dev blog was that the vehicle which will be withdrawn and will become an event vehicle. Can you tell us a bit more about it? Answer. We are closely following this discussion, and we can clarify our position in detail. First is the fate of paper or project vehicles. Such vehicles and self-propelled anti-aircraft guns, the Tiger 105, Panther II, Flak Panzer 341, will be hidden from the regular tech tree research and will remain on the account of players who already have it. Also, players who have already started research of these vehicles will be able to research it to the end and then purchase it in the regular way with Silver Lions. We don't plan on the return of these vehicles to the game in any form, as it contradicts the very reason for their withdrawal from the game. So, you do have at least a chance to get these in a bit of a conventional way. Just begin researching the vehicle before the next major update, 1.91, which is planned to be released at the beginning of the autumn. In addition to the tanks that have already been announced, in order to replace the ones that are being withdrawn in the future, others will be added to fill the gaps in the BR range. Secondly, the mouse. The reason for withdrawal from the main research tree is a bit different. The tank was added to the game as a required top-ranked tank, under the conditions where we limited the historical period of vehicles for 1950s. In this situation, we considered the introduction of the mouse justified, because it made the German ground vehicle research tree competitive. However, with the expansion of research trees and the addition of post-war main battle tanks, the German research tree received tanks comparable to the top-ranked vehicles from other nations, and perhaps even better in some aspects. On the other hand, the mouse has remained in a borderline condition, and its balancing is complicated by the presence of almost all-around powerful cannon-proof armour. In terms of protection against caliber armour-piercing shells, and on the other hand, by low mobility. Lowering the BR below its current level, as required by its statistics, is quite difficult, as a large number of its new enemies will not be able to penetrate it, while leaving it at the current BR means regular encounters with the tank with high mobility and shells that can penetrate its protection from any distance. The mouse will be hidden and moved from the main research tree to the events and premium vehicle area, so the number of such vehicles in battles will be reduced, which will probably allow us to balance it in the future more freely. We also plan to open it up for research for a limited time in the future under the same conditions as we hid it. This will not happen often, but we do expect it to happen regularly, at least once a year. We don't plan for the mouse to appear on the War Thunder market, so the tank will remain researchable, but under limited conditions. Okay, so first of all on this. The mouse has, as we know, 200mm of armor pretty much all around. It's a very, very tough tank. It's very, very hard to penetrate. But it's at 7.7. Now let us look at another tank. Destroyer. The T-95, or even its premium cousin even. The, where is it? The T-228 at 6.3. 6.3. 6.3. Let's just preview this quickly. BR of 6.3. Armour. Side armour is only 65mm, so that does balance it a bit. However, frontally, up to 500mm protection. Basically, impossible to penetrate for any vehicle. With a 105mm cannon, which is capable of penetrating most things, especially with the APCR. Now, the standard round has 280mm of penetration. So let's just look at some tanks at 6.7, shall we? So 6.7, we have things like the T-92. The T-92 has Heat FS that penetrates 254mm of armour. 6.7. We've got the T-34. Now, of course, this doesn't have Heat FS, but it has APCR and its standard shells, which will penetrate over 200mm of armour. Just look at that German tank again. 200mm of armour. 6.7, ladies and gentlemen. 6.7. Capable of penetrating the 7.7 vehicle. A lot of vehicles can penetrate this tank at distances. Yes, it is tricky, but a lot of vehicles can penetrate it. Now, its gun, the 128mm gun, is very strong. But it only has 267mm of penetration. This means that if a mouse meets a 6.3 premium vehicle, front on, it can't penetrate it. Yes, I know weak spots exist. Just listen for me a moment. The T-95 at 7.0. Basically impenetrable from the front to pretty much all vehicles. Now the side armour, yes, penetrable. Let's just go to Russia quickly. Russia. So, Russia at 7.3. The IS-3. Quite a lot of armour on the turret. More armour than the mouse, in fact. And, well, if we look at this tank, it's a much lower profile, it's much faster, and the effective thickness of its armour is more than that of the mouse. Do we start to see a problem here? So, 6.7, basically, the mouse would work at 7.0 or 6.7, that's what I'm saying. Now, 7.0, you would be facing things down to 6.3. So, what about the PT-76? Let's just look at the modifications on that. 200mm penetration. Heat FS round. Will penetrate a mouse at any distance. ASU-85. Will penetrate a mouse at any distance. Now, I know these are tank destroyers and not just regular tanks. I mean, the T-44, for instance, will face the mouse in those conditions. Oh, look, you know, it can't penetrate the mouse. Okay. But it can't penetrate a lot of other tanks either. You see my issue here. This is just Gaijin being incredibly lazy. Basically, this is all it is. Gaijin just can't be asked actually moving it and making it balanced. They just can't be bothered. They simply can't be bothered. And it's ridiculous. I mean, if we look at the Centurion, for instance, again, capable of penetrating a mouse. Their argument is that no vehicle would be able to penetrate it if it was a 7.0. And yes, they would. Most vehicles would be able to penetrate it. So if it's at 6.7, it's going to face things like the Type 61. Even the STB, you know, it's going to face 7.7 vehicles as well. Mainly face 7.7 vehicles, but the Type 61 can penetrate the mouse. The STA, with its standard shot, can't. With APCR, can. So you start to see the problem here. Oh, yeah, also, you know, the Heat FS, it can. So their reasoning for it is absolute bullshit. It is. It's absolute bullshit. Let's look at the Ho reproduction. The Ho reproduction has 225mm turret armor. Very thick boy. Front armor is pretty much over 200mm. Side armor is very weak. But, again, front on, this thing is nigh impossible to pen. Now, their main reasoning for the mouse being removed and not being available is because, well, people can't penetrate it from the side, but they can. There is no reason not to add this vehicle. There are so many vehicles that will penetrate it. There are so many vehicles that have the ability to penetrate it. Pretty much every vehicle has the ability to penetrate it at 7.0. Even at 6.7, the tank would be penetrable. Yes, 5.7 vehicles would struggle, but make it 7.0. Just make it 7.0 for sake of feck. It's just so ridiculously lazy. And this is the problem with Gaijin. They are just lazy. It is just pure laziness. They can't be asked balancing something. When they make a problem, they can't be asked balancing it. So, mouse out the way. You now know my opinion on the mouse. Now, as we go through, there's lots of bullshit. You know, compression stuff, they say, oh, well, you know, would mean that people would have to wait longer. People would be happy to wait longer to have actual battles that are fun. The chance of having an enduring conflict mode for ground forces not going to happen, but may happen for naval. Now we're going to go on to naval because, well, actually, aircraft. Because we'll start with aircraft because that's the next one down. Question: why are the repair costs for strategic heavy bombers like the B-29 Tu-4 so high? The B-29 now has a repair cost of over 60,000 Silver Lions once upgraded. It's impossible to fly these aircraft without huge economic loss, as they are easy targets. Answer: this situation appears because of the special gameplay involved in heavy bombers, and the application of general economy rules to them in the game. It means that players who understand how to use these vehicles and use them for their intended purpose can receive significant amounts of Silver Lions for one successful flyout. The algorithm, I would love to see this supposed algorithm of distribution of economic indicators regulates the average, regulates the situation in general by compensating for the possible greater earnings in Silver Lions by increasing the price of repair. So the average heavy bomber still remains positive on balance, but this is achieved by a significant amount of repair for those who are unlucky enough and also lose the vehicle. We understand the complexity of this situation and are working on changes of the algorithm for calculating economic indicators for these aircraft. We plan to reduce the repair cost of bombers at the same time as reducing the earning of bombers. Okay, so let's talk about this. So, bombers earn too much money, right? Yeah, you can earn a lot of money in a bomber. Let me just grab my service record. Let's go for Britain. No, that's not that's not Britain. Let's go for Britain and let's go for Silver Lions. we want aviation, don't we? So, Silver Lions gained. Where is my baby, my Lancaster Mark III? So, my Lancaster... Wait, that... Oh, wait, this is arcade. That's why it's wrong. That's why I'm confused. Okay, so my Lancaster, 4.2 million lines, okay? My Spitfire, 1.9 million lines. So, 160 battles, 4.2 million lines. So, yes, you can earn a lot of money with bombers. However, Sterling, 110 battles, 6k, 6,000. Let's look at some other nations quickly. America, B-29, 39 battles, 1.3 million. B-17, 24 battles, 6k. Let's go to France and look at the PB-4Y2. 46 battles, 7k. AD-4, the AD-4, 104 battles, almost a million lines, right? The balancing is not correct, because if this was correct, you can earn a shit ton of money in an attacker. The AD-4 repair cost is 10,000 lines. 10,000 lines. The same as the PB-4Y2. Yet this can do a lot more than this, because this gets shot down at the start of a match. America, all of the attackers in the world, can do a lot more than this. Yet this is 64,000 lines to repair. Now, I know my AD-4 is not aced, but repair 6k. Repair 5k. The new attacker, the AM-1 Mauler, 6k. The A-26B, 9k. And this thing can earn a lot of money as well. It's not balanced properly. Like, yes, you can make money in bombers, but the fact is, you need to make money in War Thunder, because you need to be able to buy this shit. They're reducing the Lion Earn because they don't want people to be able to afford stuff. Thus, they want people to grind more. It makes the game last longer. It makes the game longer in general. This is why they are making it impossible to fly strategic bombers. However, if we go to Germany now and look at the amount of money gained. Yes, we are in Germany. We are in realistic battle. JU-288, 148 battles, 4.3 million. You see, I used to fly the HE-177 because I like it. It's fun. Made 2.5 million in it. That's good. It was great because I could use that to buy my other planes and use it for my fighters and things like that. But now I can't fly this thing because it has a 68,000... Oh wait, that's crew repair, crew training. So it has a 47,000 line repair cost. 47,000 lines. JU-288. 8,000 lines. It's a premium. Therefore, they don't care because they've made money from it. They don't care if you make thousands or millions of lines with this thing and grind out your entire German tech tree in like a couple of days because it's just ridiculous. They don't give a shit about that. But if you do it with a free-to-play vehicle, a vehicle that you don't need to pay for, then they start to care because it means that you're effectively making your game a little bit easier, so you can actually buy the vehicles you want and play the things you want and have fun. And we can't have that. We can't have fun in War Thunder. It's just not allowed. So yeah, the reason for making bombers more expensive is absolute horse shit. And Gaijin should be ashamed of themselves, but they're not. They don't care. It's all about the money, 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 money. Okay. Helicopters we do not care about. Naval battles. Where was it? Now, naval. Will we have historical events for naval battles just to not play on the ships from World War II against ships from the 1960s or even later? Taking into account the most powerful ships in the game are, at the moment, the mid-World War II ships, it isn't looking like they are a problem for World War II ships. It means that post-war ships that we are already have in the game have medium-caliber rapid-firing artillery and can pose a threat to destroyers from World War II in specific conditions. But yes, we think that some scenarios for World War II can be presented in the events in time. Again, I would like to bring to attention the fact that the most powerful vehicle in naval at the moment is this. Again, a premium. Surprise, surprise. A vehicle that has a 20mm Vulcan Gatling gun on the front. A vehicle that's extremely fast. This thing basically ruined naval in a day. Yes, they have balanced it slightly, but it still has problems. The free-to-play counterpart of 3.7, the Chicago, has a twin 3-inch sort of turret that is rapid firing at the front. So these guns should really be more effective than that of the PG-02. It also has Bofors at the back of 40mm Bofors. This thing is basically useless and dies instantly. Because it's a slightly larger ship, it just gets absolutely blown out the water. It's the free-to-play version, of course, and it's useless. Also, it costs a heap of money now to actually get. But there are some good vehicles in sort of with the ability to cause damage to things. The PT-15, for instance, would be okay, but it's at 3.3. Anything with a 40mm Bofors, so anything with 40mm Bofors on board, is generally a decent boat, because it will take out most things, including destroyers. But when you start playing things like cruisers, yes, sure, things with 180mm guns on board are going to cause some damage. But the issue is... Sorry, 220mm guns even. Sorry, 200mm guns. Where am I coming from? My brain's not working. The issue is, with most of these guns, they're not very accurate because they have dispersion, which is a hidden stat, and there's a lot of RNG involved. The other issue is things like the Japanese destroyers. With their shells, only have 54mm of penetration. When you face American destroyers, let's just go with the premium one here. Let's just see premium versus premium. We have armour on board. Now, it's only 13mm of armour, but it helps protect the vehicle. And you generally find you don't do much with your guns with those high explosive shells, and generally miss a lot of shots. There is a huge issue in naval. It's so broken, it's not funny. But one last thing before I finish up here. Most naval battle maps progress into a situation where one team is spawn-trapped by the other. Currently, most maps have no barriers or protection for this. Do you have a plan to introduce countermeasures, for example, like how airfields have AAA? Naval spawns could have fortresses, artillery, or floating gun batteries. His situation requires much... I imagine this situation requires much deeper analysis. For example, my personal experience differs from that described above, but perhaps the problem is peculiar to individual BR ranges or to individual location maps. Perhaps we can look at naval mines in addition to AA cover on airfields and spawn protection we use in other modes. The current spawn protection is you get spawn protection for a couple of seconds and then you get blown out of the water. Now, the dev team say they play this game. I have huge doubts that they do. And I imagine they generally just play, you know, arcade battles, and they use a testing account so they can test out the vehicles, which means they generally use things like the Brooklyn here, or the Kirov, things that are basically the best in game. And in these situations, yeah, you don't have that problem because you're the one that's actually spawn camping. Naval maps have a huge issue because they are terribly designed. They are absolutely woeful. If we just bring up some maps here. Now, maps in general are pretty badly designed. Generally, your spawns are absolutely open for anything. But if we look at naval maps, the islands are there to slightly protect you, but these are tiny little islands. There is nothing to protect you. Look at this, Fiji, right? You spawn here and here. There is no protection. This section here offers no protection. So if you've got a boat that has a slightly high-powered gun, you can just sit in your spawn and kill the enemy without moving. This is the issue people are talking about. And the dev's answer is simply, well, no, I don't have a problem with it. It's not my problem. I don't have an issue with this. I've never experienced that, so it mustn't be a problem. Well, get your heads out your own arses, Gaijin, and start listening to your player base. Start actually listening to us. Open those ears that you have on the side of your frickin' heads, because you need to start listening to your player base, because you're not at the moment. All you do is go, la 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 la. Hold on, we'll just turn on the webcam to give an example of a Gaijin employee. La 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 la. Whenever they hear about a problem. But that's it. They just ignore it. They ignore it and say, well, the algorithm says it's not a problem. What algorithm? Bring up your algorithm. Show us your statistics. We would love to see them. We would love to see what you're talking about. Because, frankly, you're talking out of your arse most of the time. Honestly, yes, strategic bombers can make a lot of money. But change the bloody game mode. You've had this problem since it was bloody launched. Why is this still a problem for you? Change the game mode so that bases give less Silver Lions and research points. Or add more bombing targets. Add better bombing targets. Add areas where it's not an instant win. Don't make bases and airfield kills instant victories. Make it harder. Have the airfields like they have in enduring conflict, maybe with half health. So you can knock out the, say, armory. So if people land, then they have to wait a little bit longer to rearm. You could make it like that, so simply. Would not be hard. You've already got it in the game. You've got it in the files. It would take literally a day to fix these issues. But you're not going to do it because you're lazy bastards and you rely on people getting so stuck in the game because they can't get enough lions to buy their next vehicle that they have to go buy golden eagles to progress in your freaking game. You give us premium options. Oh wait, no, that's not premium. Premium accounts that we can get, which we use, which give us sweet F all. 100% research and 100% lions. That's it. It's not a big bonus. Doesn't help much. It does help, but it doesn't help much. Sure, you're adding map rotation ability to lock when you've got premium accounts. That's a good idea. That's something we've asked for since the start of the frickin' game. But add more. Make premium accounts more viable. Make premium accounts something people want. Just listen to your community. Listen to the majority, not the minority. Yes, somebody could be extremely good in one plane. Let's use the Butcher Bird for an example. The TA-152, which are extremely strong planes. People can be good in them. But don't punish the rest of us by making it near impossible to fly because it has a 32,000 lion repair cost. Stock. It's not good enough. You need to start listening. You need to start listening. Okay, I hope everybody understands this video. It's mainly aimed at Gaijin, but I know they're not going to watch, so I hope you enjoyed it. Speak up. Let your voices be heard. Don't just sit there and just go, well, I can't help. Yes, you can. If we as a community start fighting, then we can make changes. You have to be logical with your sort of argument, but we can make changes. We could make changes in this game and make it better. But we have to work together. Alright guys, well, I hope you've enjoyed this rant. Till next time, this is me, Screezilla, out. Bye-bye.